Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Right now, the worlds of pro basketball, national politics, and some deeply rooted cultural debates are, well, they're completely colliding on one very specific stage. And sitting right at the absolute center of this whirlwind, 29-year-old Sophie Cunningham. Today, we're going to unpack exactly how a talented guard for the Indiana Fever suddenly found herself at the absolute center of the WNBA zeitgeist, sparking some really intense reactions both on the hardwood and across the country. Section 1, the August ejection incident. Let's just bypass the usual buildup and jump straight into the action of a highly charged matchup from this past August. So picture this. It's August 8th, 2026. The Indiana Fever are facing off against the Chicago Sky. And it's an incredibly intense game, literally right from the opening tip-off. We're just in the first quarter of what would eventually become a 90-86 victory for Indiana. But honestly, long before that final buzzer sounded, a sequence of events went down that would just immediately dominate national sports headlines. Let's actually walk through how this builds, step by step. First up, the foul itself. Cunningham is running a transition fast break layup operating at full speed, right? And she gets heavily struck across the face and neck area by Chicago Sky guard Dejounte Carrington. It is a massive physical hit. Next, we go to step 2, the official video review. Because of how intense the contact was, officials head to the monitors and upgrade it to a flagrant 2 foul. Which brings us to step 3, the immediate ejection of Carrington from the game. But, the story doesn't end on the court. Step 4 is the massive social fallout that hit the internet, which fed right into step 5, setting the stage for a highly anticipated, tension-filled rematch on August 23rd. Because following her ejection, Carrington took to threads and posted a 2-word phrase: white privilege. She also directly tagged the Indiana Fever organization in that post. And by doing this, what started as a hard physical play on the basketball court instantly escalated, right? It transformed from an in-game penalty into this massive league-wide controversy right ahead of their late August rematch. Moving on to Section 2, player profile and stats. Because before we can fully grasp the controversy, we really need to answer the baseline question here. Who is Sophie Cunningham, the athlete? Well, the number 13 actually tells us a lot about her professional pedigree. Sophie Cunningham was the 13th overall pick in the 2019 WNBA draft, meaning she didn't just come out of nowhere. She entered the professional league as a highly touted, first-round talent with a lot of expectations attached to her. Tracking her career journey, we see she was drafted out of the University of Missouri, where honestly she had already made quite a name for herself. From Mizzou, she spent the early seasons of her WNBA career playing for the Phoenix Mercury, before eventually joining her current team, the Indiana Fever. Now, if you talk to basketball analysts about what she actually brings to the court, you're going to hear 2 things over and over. She brings a notoriously competitive, super physical playing style, and she pairs that with a very reliable outside shot. She is a gritty, hard-nosed player who absolutely does not shy away from contact. And looking at her current 2026 regular season stats, we can see exactly how she's utilizing that skill set for Indiana. Over 31 appearances this season, she is averaging 8.9 points, 2.3 rebounds, and 1.3 assists per game. So the takeaway here is that she has successfully adapted to this highly impactful role, primarily coming off the bench for the Fever to provide an immediate spark of energy and, of course, scoring. All right, Section 3, off-court cultural debates. Because to truly understand the sheer intensity of that August 8th incident, we have to pull back and look at the off-court cultural spotlight that was already shining right on Cunningham. It really started right here. Just 1 month prior to the ejection incident, in July of 2026, ESPN published a major feature story on her. But this wasn't just a breakdown of her jump shot. No, this feature brought her personal views on a major, hot-button cultural issue to a massive national audience. Specifically, the ESPN feature highlighted Cunningham's public stance regarding transgender athletes. She used the platform to publicly voice her opposition to transgender women participating in women's sports. And in her own specific words to ESPN, she called her perspective on the matter common sense in order to protect young girls. Well, the national reaction to those comments was instantaneous and highly polarized. Notice just how rapidly this all escalated off the court. She drew high-profile, strong public support from major conservative political figures, including Vice President J.D. Vance and White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. But simultaneously, her remarks sparked a wave of physical pregame protests outside of WNBA arenas, which then, as you might expect, sparked counter-demonstrations. The environment surrounding her games just became incredibly charged. And you can see this massive friction happening right now. On one side, you have the external labels. She is being championed by conservative politicians, while online critics have aggressively dubbed her MAGA Barbie. But then flip to the other side and look at her own personal identity. Cunningham explicitly rejects the MAGA Barbie title. Actually, she describes her own political views as being, in her words, very much in the middle. So you've got this glaring gap between the extreme labels being slapped onto her by the outside world and how she actually defines herself. Section 4, the bigger picture. And this really brings us to the absolute most important takeaway of our explainer today, how the micro is interacting with the macro. If we connect the dots here, Cunningham's story perfectly exemplifies this completely new era of sports. Think about it as a sequence. Step 1, a player's personal beliefs are publicized on a massive platform. Step 2, external political labels are aggressively applied by both supporters and critics. Step 3, as a player known for a competitive physical style, the on-court physical play naturally intensifies under a microscope. And finally, Step 4, what would normally be a standard game incident, like a hard fast break foul, instantly becomes a national cultural flashpoint. It's like the basketball court is no longer isolated from the political world outside the arena. Which leaves us with this final, genuinely provocative thought to ponder. As these two worlds, intense physical athletic competition and deeply polarized cultural politics, continue to blend together, how is this going to shape the future of the WNBA? Are we looking at the new normal for professional women's basketball, where every single hard foul suddenly carries national political weight? It's a fascinating question, and one we will undoubtedly see play out on the court. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on the game.